We're getting some folks in. So we'll give it another minute or two. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, quite a number of folks jumping in. This is awesome. We're about 25 so far. We'll give it another moment or two, and then we will go ahead and get started. All right, it looks like we have gotten to a bit of a stopping point in folks coming into the session. So we will go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Falcon Live Chat featuring the Residential Center here at Bentley University. Today we'll be sharing some information with you about housing at Bentley and having an opportunity for you to answer or to ask any questions that you may have. Throughout our presentation today, you are welcome to submit questions using the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen. We'll cover approximately 15 to 20 minutes of content and then open it up to your questions. We are recording this session, so you will be able to access this presentation at a later date. Please note, if you are watching this as a recording, you may email us directly with questions. See here today. If there are any questions that we are unable to answer today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via email. We will work to get those questions answered for you. And we will go ahead and get started with some introductions. So I will kick us off. My name is Jared Berman. I'm Assistant Director in the Residential Center, also working with our orientation team. And Devin, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm a rising junior. I'm Devin Breen. I am one of the student coordinators this year, so I work with new student programs. I'll be with the orientation team, and I'm one of the people who help to make this happen. And next up is the Res Center.
Yeah, hi folks, welcome. It's good to have a good turnout so far. My name is Justin Woodard. I'm the director of the Residential Center here on campus.
Hi everyone, my name is Sabrina Cruz and I'm the Associate Director of the Residential Center.
And my name is Jeff Funk. I'm the Assistant Director of Housing Operations within the Residential Center.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. Devin, if you don't mind sharing the presentation, we will go ahead and get started.
All right, folks. So like Jared and Devin just shared with you, we'll breeze through some slides. And then again, we know that the one of the big benefits of this meeting will be the Q&A portion. So we'll ensure that folks have plenty of time to ask questions once we are finished here. But this is just our intro slide. We can kind of move on to the next one. Really, our presentation today is about living on campus. And so some of the big priorities we look to welcoming you to campus, providing you a safe, civil, and inclusive community, really where you feel welcome, where you feel a sense of belonging. We'll talk about our staff makeup as we go through the presentation, so you have a good sense of what are the support services available to you. But this slide, oh, you could go on more, Devin, thank you. So this slide is really helpful, I think, in helping you all to understand sort of what our philosophy is about folks who live on campus. We think that you certainly can have a wonderful experience at Bentley, commuting or living off campus, but we do know the value of living on campus, being here, having a resident assistant dedicated to you. We do know that it can make a big impact, particularly in your first year. And so really the sort of three areas we aim to help you with from the start of your time here at Bentley until you walk across that graduation stage. We hope that in your time living on campus, we are working programmatically, working with your RA, your residence director, professional staff member in your building to develop a broader sense of who you are. So exploring your identities, your values, things that are important to you. Our second really big priority is ensuring that as a result of living on campus, you build connections. So certainly those would be with peers, fellow classmates, upperclassmen, but we also hope that you build deep relationships with staff and faculty on campus as well. And we're really here to help you do that. And then sort of the third component is helping you. We recognize that you're coming from various communities. You're a part of multiple communities in the places where you are currently. And so we want you to think more, and we want to help you think more about what are the communities on campus you want to be a part of. You're already part of the residential community, but there are a lot of smaller groups that we want you to sort of find your sense of belonging. I think what really gets us res center people down is when, you know, you've lived on campus for a year or two, or even your entire experience, and you're leaving not feeling like you've got a strong sense of belonging here, or that we want you to think, you know, positively 10 years down the road, looking back at Bentley, still remembering your first your first residence hall experience, your move-in day. So that is, I think, another really big charge of our department, is to help you really develop a sense of belonging to this great institution. We're really excited about welcoming you to, and not so many weeks off. So that's a little of the philosophy of our department, what we're aiming to do, and sort of our next slides will kind of walk you through sort of what to expect once you get here on campus.
A little bit about the staff support that you will have, while you're here on campus. You all will live in the residence halls, and in addition to obviously your room and the amenities that you have there, you'll also have staff that'll be appointed to kind of help you in your first year and beyond here at Bentley. And so the first one of those will be your resident director. So each building or collective of buildings will have a specifically assigned resident director. And so they're a master level professional, and they kind of oversee the day-to-day operations of the building, making sure everything is doing well facilities-wise in the building, but also connecting with students. And they actually also live in the building. Above the resident directors will also be an assistant director of the area. And so Jared would be the assistant director of the first year area, and they would supervise the RDs, be a part of the member of the central office. They also live in the buildings, and they would again be part of helping build that community and helping students out. Additionally, you also have RAs, which we'll talk about in the next slide. In relation to some of the support that you'll have, like if something is going on or going wrong, there is an administrator on duty that is always available after business hours during the week and weekend. And so business hours end kind of at 4:30. And although the offices won't be open, in the instance of emergency, there will be a professional staff member, one of the RDs, that will be available for emergencies and other things that wouldn't necessarily be able to wait until the next day. There also will be resident assistants that will be available every night in the halls, and that'll be, again, a peer that students can go to if anything's kind of going on in or around the building. And we also have university police and our blue light system. So again, a variety of different ways that people can get in contact with resources if anything's kind of going on. Going on to our next slide, talking a little bit about our resident assistants. So our resident assistants are returning students who are going to live within each community. And so each RA has a number of students that are kind of assigned to them that live in their general area, that they, it's their responsibility to explain policies and procedures, in addition to doing programs and just generally being available for the students. RAs will be available. If you could just go back to the last slide. RAs will be available in the hall, again, in an office starting at 7:30 every night. And again, that's a place that people can go to, one specific physical place that people can go to if they kind of need any help. They walk around the building, again, building community, but also making sure that things are going okay. One of the other bigger things that RAs are trained on is making sure that they are mediating conflict, being a resource for students, and also, again, making sure that you're building community. Like Justin mentioned previously, that is our biggest hope for students that live on campus, is that you find connections, and the RAs are really there to help facilitate that. Some things, common issues or concerns or questions that RAs may be able to help you out with is things like, what if I'm not fitting in? What if I'm not feeling well? What if I'm stressed? Where can I get food? What if my computer's broken? I'm in need of going to a specific office. Where is that located? How do I talk to my roommate? What if I lose this? What if this? What if that, right? And so they're really going to be there for a lot of different questions that you may have, and really be, your in-house resource.
Okay, so thinking about the specific housing options for first-year students, so we have 3 typical first-year residence halls. As we have noted on this slide, we do have a virtual walkthrough of some of those different room types available on our website. And those three buildings, are Slade Hall, Miller Hall, and the Trees Complex. As you can see from the capacities there, Slade and Miller are slightly smaller. Trees holds about double, or about what Slade and Miller hold combined. But the interesting thing about the Trees Complex is it's actually sort of 7 interconnected buildings that all run together. Most students in the first year area do live in double occupancy bedrooms. That is our, by and large, the majority of our bedrooms there are double occupancy. We do have limited options for single occupancy, as well as triple occupancy, and a few for quad occupancy, so for 4 people. But again, most students should expect to be living in a double occupancy room. On each floor in the first year residence halls, there is a common bathroom that the residents on that floor will share. Some floors have 2 bathrooms if it's a larger floor, or within the Trees Complex, sort of on each floor of each tree, each individual building has its own bathroom. And then in each of these buildings, there is one common kitchen that students are welcome to go and share, as well as a laundry room for the building, and a couple lounge spaces that they can go to hang out with friends or catch up on some homework. And in addition, one thing we've had to start taking advantage of over the past few years due to larger numbers of incoming students, and that will again be the case this year, is some of our first year students will actually live in one of our suite style residence halls that is not featured on this slide, that typically is used for returning students. But we have had to house some students there as well. And in a suite style residence hall, it's actually a collection of bedrooms. So either 2 to 3 bedrooms, mostly doubles again, that share a common room and a bathroom, with a door off of the hallway into that suite. So it's not quite as communal style as these first year residence halls. And we'll talk a couple slides from now, we'll talk about the housing application that all students are required to complete. And in there, there's actually an option to select if they're interested in a suite style housing option. And we do still make the best effort to keep any first year students that are in the suite style building together on floors together. They're not just sort of randomly interspersed among returning students, because as Justin mentioned, building that community and those connections are really important. And just developmentally, it is really great to keep, first years along with their peers, because they're all going through this sort of shared experience together.
Another opportunity to kind of build community within your halls, if you would like it. So here at Bentley Community, we have defined communities, and defined communities are dedicated spaces for students who have a similar interest or passion or are part of a similar group, to really live and learn around that specific theme. So that is something that students have the option of applying to. You don't necessarily have to if you don't want to, but it is something that is available. And so we do have 6 in the first year community. Those specific communities are designated to specific halls, right? And so, for example, if you were in the arts community, you would be living in that specific hallway with others who are also part of the arts community. You would have programming efforts and an RA that is specific to that theme to kind of help you, again, build that community. And so our first year defined communities are the Honors First Year Experience, the Blueprint Community, and Thrive Community. And those are going to be housed in Slade Hall. And then in Miller Hall, we have the Her Story Community, Women Leaders of Today, the Arts Community, and then our new community for this fall 2022, the First Gen Community. So if you've already submitted your application, that is great, and you'll hear back from us soon. But in the instance that you haven't, you still have time. So even if you've already submitted your application, you can feel free to go in and express your interest. There is a very small kind of essay portion. I wouldn't even say essay, more of a response that we need to fill out. But again, we want to make sure that students, have this option available to them, and if it's something that they want, they, can apply. In the instance that this is not, necessarily something that you're interested in, that's fine too. You're still going to build community in the halls regardless. But again, a really good opportunity if you have a specific interest in one of these, one of these thematic areas, and you can find more information online and can also reach out if you have any additional questions.
Okay, so the process for applying for housing, which by now many students have likely already completed. We still have another week until the deadline. So if you've not completed it, you are not too late. And it really is just, due by the deadline. It is not first come, first serve in terms of who submitted it the earliest. And so if we could go back on the slide. Thank you. So our processes for housing are completely online with one caveat that I will mention in a moment that still is done on paper. But all students will need to log into the housing portal. Everyone has been given access to that. Students received an email, I believe on May 25th, that included all of the information and the steps that they need to complete. So if you are, unsure of this information, please check your Bentley email account. That is something that we really, really want to stress, is that all of the offices at Bentley, once you are a student here, will be communicating with you through your Bentley email address, not your previous email addresses that you may have used when you applied. I mean, we know, admissions obviously was sending a lot of things to your previous email address, but now as a current student, you will be expected to check your Bentley email account. So all of this information can be found there. It will have a link to the housing portal, which is where you will complete all of your housing related tasks. So there are really two things that we need all incoming students to complete. And the first is to electronically sign the housing and meal plan contract. So that's the first step before you can access the housing application. We do encourage you to read the housing contract in depth before you sign it. It applies for the entirety of the 2022-2023 academic year. It is a contract, it's a little lengthy, but I think compared to some other schools I've seen, it's not the longest. So we do encourage that, that you read through it. It's got some important dates and information in there. And for, parents who are attending, I would, probably good for you to read through it too, because I know certainly when I was 17 or 18, my eyes would have glazed over reading through a contract. So they have to sign that. The one caveat here is for students who are under 18, we cannot have them sign it on their own through the portal. So for folks who are currently under 18, it will prompt them to download a copy of the contract with a space for them to sign and with a parent or guardian to sign as well. And then there are instructions in there for how to return that to our office. It can be scanned or a photo taken of it and just sent to our email address or fax. Or if you happen to be local and you'd like to drop it off in person, you can, but all of those digital modalities are fine. Once a student completes that, the contract, then they will automatically get access to the housing application. So the contract is simply, signing the agreement for the year. And then the housing application is where we ask them some more questions. It is largely consists of two parts. The first is getting information about what their room type preferences are, so they can preference their top two room style choices. So that's between a single bedroom, a double bedroom, a triple bedroom, or a quad bedroom, and they can rank their top two. There's also a spot for them to indicate if they are interested in the suite style housing option. Keep in mind, we do our best to get folks into one of their top two options. But certain room types are limited. Singles, triples, and quads are incredibly limited. As we mentioned before, the double occupancy rooms really are the standard. So while we will do our best, we unfortunately cannot always meet the demand for certain room types. Additionally, one question that we get often is, well, where can we preference which specific residence hall we want? Unfortunately, we cannot accept requests for specific residence halls. They all offer comparable amenities. One thing I would suggest, if you are interested in a specifically either Miller or Slade, and there's a defined community in there that you're interested in, I would encourage you to apply for that, because if you're accepted into that community, that is a way to live in one of those residence halls. So the housing application includes that component about room preferences. I will also say, if a student selects that they're interested in the suite style option, we will take that into account. We won't necessarily be able to, guarantee that will get a student into the suite style housing option. And then once they complete that part of the application, the second part is about their roommate preferences. So a variety of questions, including, sort of their lifestyle within the room. What do they like the noise level to be in the room? What time do they wake up and go to bed? Questions that we have drawn on from both our own knowledge as folks who have worked in housing and from research in higher education and benchmarking what other schools do. The questions that we ask really are the questions that tend to match up people as best as possible for lifestyle compatibility. We don't ask much in the way of personality, because really what research and practice have found again and again is really what makes a good roommate pairing is the compatibility to live together, not necessarily shared interest. I think sometimes folks come into college thinking I must be best friends with my roommate. That may not happen, right? But it may, and you might be very fortunate in that regard. But really, what's important is having sort of that healthy living environment, that's mutually respectful. So you'll fill those questions out as well, and then once you submit the housing application, there is nothing else you need to do. If you are someone who knows a specific other incoming first-year student that you want to live with, there are instructions in the emails that we've sent for how to specifically request them. It's also through the housing portal. You can go in and actually search for the student by name, request them as a roommate. They will have to log in as well and request you back. And then we will be able to house those students together. But even if you know who you want to live with, you still need to complete that full housing application with the roommate questionnaire questions, just something that all students have to complete, and we need that on file. So questions about that, obviously we'll answer questions in a moment, but we're always available during business hours, either via phone or email as well. So the housing portal is now open for this. It is due, these forms are due next Wednesday, June 22nd. After that, and we know folks are eager, they're very excited for their housing as an incoming first-year student. I remember how that felt many years ago for me. There is then a little bit of a delay between when the housing contract and application are due and then when we send out housing assignments. So we will send out confirmation of housing assignments, roommate assignments in late July, but we really do need that sort of 4 weeks in there, 3 to 4 weeks, to look at all of these preferences and make the best assignments possible. We also have, and I don't want to drone on too long about this, but we have a housing and meal plan, religious and medical accommodation process as well. More information is on our website about that. That is for anyone with a religious or medical need for a certain housing accommodation. And it requires a simple form to be filled out along with a letter from the student, from the applicant, as well as a specific documentation from either a medical provider or a clergy person, depending on the nature of the request. More information about that was in the emails we've sent as well. We also are committed to providing, housing options that are the most affirming for students who are transgender or gender nonconforming, and really all students. So we do have gender inclusive housing across campus, including for first-year students, meaning you can request to, if you know a specific student that you want to live with, another incoming student, and it's a mutual request, we do not take gender into account for that. You can live with anyone of your choosing. For students who are just going in through the roommate matching, that is traditionally done based upon gender. But for students with a specific gender inclusive housing requests or concerns, you can reach out to our office. Actually, you can reach out to me directly. My information has been in the emails that we've sent out and on our website. Whew, a lot of info, I know. And then meal plans. All first-year students are required to be on the same meal plan. It's the Block 304 meal plan. Once they progress to sophomore year and beyond, they will have a little more flexibility with choosing different meal plans. But for the Block 304, it includes 304 meal swipes for the entire semester, which breaks down to basically 3 meals a day at our main dining hall. They also get $350 of discretionary funds, which can be used at some of our other dining options on campus that are not the main dining hall, and then 5 meal trades per week. And what that means is you can use 5 swipes per week at those other locations that take the discretionary money. So you can use a swipe at one of those and get like a standard, like an entree, a side, a drink, a dessert, and so on. And our the 921, which is our main dining hall on campus, has been recently remodeled and redone with some new options. And we've heard a lot of positive feedback from students about their dining experience over the past year. So really a lot of great options as well for students with allergies and dietary restrictions and so on.
All right, coming to a close with our slides in a moment, and then we'll get to folks who have questions. But these are just some dates to keep in mind as we move forward into the summer. We do hope that for all of the incoming students out there, you enjoy what's left of the summer. I know it's exciting to think about returning or coming to campus in August, but again, we want you to soak up this last summer you have before your first year here. Relax a little bit. We know the academic environment can be stressful, and so really be proud of yourselves for completing your high school programs and making it this far and getting accepted, and make sure that you're enjoying yourself. But looking forward, folks who may be identified as somebody who could participate in our Mosaic program, information has likely been communicated to you, but that move-in date is a couple days earlier than the traditional first year move-in date on August 29th. If you applied and then are selected into one of the defined communities, as Sabrina was discussing earlier, that is another early arrival opportunity. So you would arrive with the rest of the defined community students and be able to settle in a day before our big move-in day, first year move-in day on Thursday, September 1st. For students and families, that is a really exciting day. There's a lot going on, a lot of staff here. We have in the past and will continue to do so, hire movers. So again, not one per every student, but certainly enough to try and lighten the load as you're moving things in all of our first year buildings. So they will be on site with moving bins and ready to welcome you along with all of our student leaders. Our upper class students will follow that weekend of September 3rd. So we'll give you all first year students some space on campus to get your bearings, figure out where the specific buildings are that you'll be going in and out of before all our upper class students return. And then classes begin on September 6th. If you're looking really far out, you can also look to, if you're traveling from further away, halls close here on campus on Tuesday, December 20th at 5 p.m. So traditionally, folks will either depart by that point when the halls do formally close, or earlier if your final schedule allows. So some folks end up being a little lucky and being able to jet out of here for the winter break a little bit early. So our next slide is just if you want, not super active, to be honest, in the summer, but during the academic year, it certainly is. If you want to follow us at Living at Bentley on our Instagram account, really that's the main social media platform we use to promote events, give people updates. If you're somebody who might forget things every so often, we will post reminders on there as a way to reach people as well. So again, a good thing to follow. And if you're parents or families want to get a sense of what's happening on campus, again, another good Instagram account to follow. If you have one, our email account is below, as is our phone number. In the summer, we're open Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. till 5:30. I believe we have an out of office on our email account, which just sort of anytime you reach out to us bumps back any information that could be helpful to you. But, just so folks know, we do have an extended weekend, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we will do our best. We have staff truly dedicated to our email account and our phones every day during the summer to ensure that you all feel well prepared to, pack up and come onto campus in August. So at this point, I can see we've got some questions already, so we'll kind of get to those if folks want to stay on, see if some of these questions may be applicable to you as well, or throw another one in the chat. Let's see, the first question I'm seeing, is there a list for what you should bring with you and what you cannot bring? I do know on the residential center webpage, we have one, and I don't know, Devin or Jared, I think you all have one as well, maybe?
We do, and we'll also be sending out in the orientation newsletters that come out throughout the summer, a copy of a what to bring list will be provided there as well.
Awesome. I don't know, Sabrina or Jeff, if you've got any thoughts there of like traditional things folks have brought in the past that aren't okay, or um, no pets unless they're approved. You could have a small fish. Um, anything with a exposed heating element, like a hot plate, things like that are not permitted inside. So those lists are pretty robust when we send those out. But again, if you're ever worried about something, that maybe isn't listed, feel free to shoot us an email or reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer that.
And there is in the area, the day of, right, or the weekend of that you're here on campus and maybe you forget something. Obviously, we have a bookstore, but we also have relatively close to campus a Target. And so you can definitely go there or you or your parents or your family can go there as the weekend progresses to grab anything that, you may be missing.
And I would also add one thing that we frequently get questions about is can we bring like outside furniture? And that is something, so, we cannot accommodate outside, sofas, futons, large items of furniture. Number one, it's a fire safety hazard in the residence halls. And also typically, in first year rooms, there's really not often room to bring large items. But like a small like bookshelf or something, usually we can work with.
Yep. And you're welcome to bring, a refrigerator as well. We have some information we traditionally provide on micro fridge units, a fridge and microwave all in one, but you're welcome to bring those things. We don't restrict those from being in the rooms. Looks like maybe, Jeff, you want to take this one? If you get unlimited access to the 921 dining hall, what are you trading when you do meal trades? So
yeah,
not quite unlimited.
Right. So I do want to really quick clarify something. So we don't provide mini fridges, but we do provide access to a place where you can rent them from, where they'll drop them off, before the student even moves in and pick them up at the end of the year. Super easy, but you're also welcome to bring your own. Anyway, the question about the dining hall, that was a typo on the slide. I apologize for that. It is in the past, instead of it being, basically 3 meals a day, it was considered an unlimited plan. Our dining services folks have changed that. It's no longer truly unlimited in that way. So that is why that trade exists. And I do apologize for the typo.
Let's see, are small safes for computers and iPhones, iPads okay to bring? Yes, yep, small safes if you'd like to store any valuables in them are fine to bring as well. Is Amazon delivery allowed on campus? I don't know, Sabrina, if you want to chat a little bit about what sort of our mail process looks like.
Yeah, so you are able to get mail services on campus. And so essentially what you would do is, and this could also be found online, you essentially put your name on it and then the address for the university. All packages and mail would then go to our mail room on campus. And then whenever you have a package that has been processed through our system, you will receive an email and then you'll be able to go pick it up at the mail room. So that includes both Amazon, delivery, as well as, anything else that you may, buy online, in addition to letter, packages from home or letter mail, whatever the case is. And so you would, again, be able to just, get that here on campus. You wouldn't receive a specific mailbox, but again, rather everything will be centralized to our mail room. And again, that information can be found online in terms of what specifically to write down, so that you can have that prepared for, for campus.
Looks like we have one more and then we'll get to the chat. I know there are a few in there as well, but our first year students allowed to bring a car on campus. So as it stands right now, first year students are not permitted to have a vehicle. However, if you have some extenuating circumstances that may require the need for a car, you can reach out to university police. They occasionally will make some exceptions, again, in some extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, first years cannot have cars. Again, we have a shuttle service that will take you into Harvard Square and another to Waverly Square as well, which is more of like a shopping area, has a grocery store there. Or if you want to head straight into Boston, you could catch the shuttle into Harvard Square and get on the red line and get you access to the rest of the Boston transit system. Let's see, we'll go to the chat. I think there were a few.
There's a couple people asking about rental fridges.
Yeah, so I can happily talk more about that. So we work with a company called New England Student Services. In just a moment, I can put their website in the chat so that you can all go access that. But typically, sometime in the next couple of weeks, or really once everyone has signed the housing contract, we will give them a list of the incoming students, and they will send out like mailers and emails directly to your families as well. But you basically just go onto their website and you click that you're interested in a mini fridge rental, and it'll have a drop down of the different schools they work with. You pick Bentley. You also, I should note, you can't do this until housing assignments come out in July. They have plenty of availability. It won't go away because then you actually put in, the student's housing assignment and you pay everything directly through them. They are a company separate from us, but you'll actually put in the direct housing assignment and they will then deliver it prior to the student moving onto campus. So again, I will put that in the chat in just a moment. Hopefully that answers all the refrigerator related questions.
There's one in there about the average time. So when something comes to the mailroom, they're pretty quick at that. They have it all pretty automated. So when items arrive and are scanned or checked into the mailroom, typically that'll generate emails that go out letting you know you have a package or parcels to pick up. So it is a busy place on campus, particularly now. I mean, for folks who've been here, kind of prior to the big Amazon boom, I mean, that the mailroom is always moving and grooving. So they've got all of that down to a science at this point. You're welcome to reach out. I see a question in there about potentially shipping some things to the mailroom to see if they could hold if you're traveling from far away. I might defer to the mailroom to see if they are capable of doing that. But yes, we do have also, if you're thinking about if you are traveling from far away, we've got plenty of shopping places available in the area. Probably Target's the closest, but the Framingham, Natick area, if you can reach out that far, maybe 20 minutes, has a ton more. Burlington, Massachusetts, as well, is another really big shopping area. So there's a lot around campus that folks can get to.
Sorry, I see a couple other questions that I can answer. So I see we've got in the chat and the Q&A. So when do we need to pay for housing? So billing will go out on July 11th. Now all incoming students are pre-billed for a double occupancy room. Once the actual housing assignments are made, if the student is then actually in a single room or a triple room, etc., that billing will then be updated. But we do put the standard double room rate in to begin with. Bills are due on, let's see, where is it? August 2nd. And our office does not do any of that collection of payment. That is all through our student accounts office. And we're happy, I can put their contact information in the chat as well. And then I see some folks asked, can I revisit my housing application if I think I didn't answer some of the questions? Yes, you can go back into the portal and click back into that through the deadline of June 22nd. Can we come see the room once it's assigned? Unfortunately, no, we can't accommodate that. There's a lot of facilities work going on over the summer in those buildings, as well as students living on campus. We rent out some of the residence halls for conferences. So we can't allow that, but we don't have floor plans online, but we do have our online virtual walkthroughs, which are wonderful to see those different room types.
Yeah, another question, maybe Sabrina, you could take this one. How long do you have to set up your room on move-in day?
Yeah, so pretty much the morning of move-in day, depending on when you'll be entering campus is when you really have to set up. That day there is convocation, and someone from orientation will be able to share the specific time, but you'll have a couple of hours to kind of set up, get the bed ready, and get everything kind of organized and whatnot. And so that's what most students will spend the majority of their morning doing. And then again, you'll have from that point until classes begin to really finish kind of settling if you need more time. But I would say again, a few hours in the morning is when you have to do that until convocation starts, and then once convocation starts is when orientation activities will begin. And then again, throughout the weekend, there will be some downtime as well if you wanted to, needed some more time to kind of get some things completed and done.
Yeah, I can elaborate on the orientation piece. You nailed most of it. You definitely have until convocation, then you have to go to convocation. We have a couple activities that afternoon, some team building stuff, and then we generally eat dinner with you. But once you go home after dinner or back to your room, people like to hang out together, but if you'd rather set up your room, that's definitely free for you to do. And then over the next couple of days, we have quite a bit of downtime where you can either hang out with us, you can hang out with other first years, you can go to some activities that we have that are optional, or you can go back to your room and you can help set up even further if you need that time.
Yeah, you have a lot of time for the unpacking piece. I think it's really just what is pretty rapid is when you get here in your vehicle, you have about 15 minutes, and that's why we hire movers to really get everything out. We have limited parking spaces right next to the really all of the buildings that you may potentially be moving into. So the goal is park, get everything out of your car as soon as possible with the support of our moving company, and then to relocate the car to a different area. So that part's sort of the rapid piece, but otherwise it's really just to get cars moving, but then you have plenty of time to set up. I see maybe Jeff can talk a little bit about housing during break or holiday periods.
Sure. And I just put the link to the refrigerator rental website in the chat. So you all have that. Again, they will probably do some direct outreach as well. Yeah, so I see, there's a question about arriving early or staying over break periods. So for context, we do not close during the semester. So students get a Thanksgiving break, but the residence halls stay open. Students are welcome to stay during that time. Same within the spring, we do have a week-long spring break where students do not have classes. Many of them choose to leave, but again, the residence halls do not close. So for those periods within the semester, students don't need to apply for that. They can just stay. For those periods in between semesters, so for example, winter break from the end of December through the first half of January, we do offer winter housing during that time. It does come at an additional rate because it's not included in what you're paying for the 2 semesters. So that is something students can apply for. In terms of arriving early, we are somewhat restricted in terms of having folks arrive early. However, if you have a travel conflict or something that really an extenuating circumstance that you cannot arrive on the scheduled day, please email housing@bentley.edu. We will work with you. We know, especially for our international students, it can be particularly difficult to get flights on certain days of the week, depending on where you're coming from. So we will work with you. Sometimes we can, get folks in a day or 2 early. Sometimes we get requests for folks to come 2-3 weeks early, and those requests, unfortunately, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of renovations and maintenance work going on, as well as students here over the summer. So we can't always accommodate everything, but we will certainly work with you to come up with a solution.
I see one, maybe Sabrina could take this for defined communities. So if you apply for a defined community and you may have also applied for a medical or religious accommodation, how do we kind of handle sort of working with both of those requests?
Yeah, so in the instance that you are applying for both an accommodation and also for the community, and you both, your accommodation gets accepted and we will moving forward that, and you get accepted into the community, we will work our best to make sure that both needs are met. In the instance that your particular need cannot be accommodated on that specific floor, right? So for example, the arch community, right, is only 1 floor, right? And so in the basement of one of the buildings, or rather the ground floor of one of the buildings, in the instance that you are down there and the specific accommodation that you need is literally just non-existent in that space, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to house you in that specific community because it doesn't fit your need. And obviously your, medical or religious need would be greater than the community, right? And so again, for most instances, we try our best to make it work. But again, in the instance that it doesn't, and it just literally does not exist within that community, we would then communicate that with you and let you know, like, hey, we can't meet this accommodation on this community, but we can meet it elsewhere on campus. And obviously we want to make sure that we have that, that we meet that need. Obviously, these are very nuanced things. And so if you have any specific questions about that, feel free to reach out to GA Housing and we can, go a little bit in more detail. But again, we do want students to be able to have access to both if it makes sense and if we can accommodate it. And then if not, again, still be able to, meet your accommodation your medical accommodation that you requested. But again, please reach out if you need any clarification regarding that.
We've got a question in here about the best time to arrive for move-in days. So that will be the exact bolded messaging that we send out when we confirm your move-in and housing. It will be to follow that email to a T. So every year, we'll start move-in. What we've done over the past is try and really sort of chunk out, this group moves in at this time. It all sort of works with our traffic flow. So our biggest recommendation and ask of everybody is to pay attention to that email and stick to it. So if yours were to say, like 10 a.m. and you're like, well, I'll just get there a little early, you will face delays. So the best thing you can do is follow those email directions to a T, and then we will get you in. I will say move-in day for first years in, bringing back our returning students. Both days are super exciting, but there is a lot going on campus. So again, we always, I think, find the most stress with people when they've maybe deviated a little bit from the directions that we gave. So again, we've been doing this a while. We're not trying to cause any additional stress. Just trust us that the time that we tell you to arrive is the best time and will accommodate you best. It means, we've thought about how many cars could physically be in the parking lot at that exact time. So again, it is fairly wild what goes into planning these move-in days, as the smiles on the screen indicate. But we do it well, we'll get you in. The movers will be a big help, as they are in every year, but stick to those directions and you should be golden.
Yeah, and those will come out either right along with your housing assignment or shortly thereafter, because as Justin mentioned, that really is based on where you'll be living, because most of our first year buildings are quite close together. So again, the traffic flow is a science.
So we've got a couple minutes left. We could pause and see if there are any more questions that come through. But again, we're not going anywhere. We'll be with you the whole journey here. If you've got questions, please email or call. We recognize that for many of you, this is a pretty big transition. So we'll be here to support you along the way the best we can. And thanks to the orientation team, to Devin and Jared for including us in this and allowing us some time with you all.
Yeah, Justin, thank you so much. And just to reiterate what Justin said, you've got some great teams here for you as you navigate this process. And certainly, if you have any questions following our session today, please don't hesitate to reach out to anybody on the screen, the orientation office, the residential center, any of our panelists. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. As I did mention before, this session was being recorded, so this will be posted up on our website shortly, probably within the next couple of days. And you'll be able to go back and review any of the information provided. Thank you all so much for being here, and we hope you all have a wonderful day.
To Marina and Kim, I can give both of you answers. Marina, the copy is, as he said, online on the website, but you'll also be getting, your family will be getting a newsletter for for July next month. And that will have a link on it for you where you can go back and look at it and see everything that was on this. If you can't find it yourself, that will be sent out in about 2 to 3 weeks. Kim, parents can go to convocation. They're welcome to sit and watch and listen and learn all of that. And then as soon as convocation's over, orientation is going to ask parents to leave. Because we have some activities for the students as soon as it's over. And so there will be more direction on that later as well, but plan for the end of convocation as the kind of final time for you to be with them.
And Jeff, I saw a quick question in there about when specifically accommodation information would come out in terms of like if you were accepted or.
That is a great question. So the deadline for submitting an accommodation is the same as the contract and application, which is June 22nd. We have a committee that will review all accommodation requests. That committee includes staff members from the health center, disability services, facilities management, our director of spiritual life for the religious accommodation requests. So we'll meet within a week or two after that deadline. And then we will get responses out to folks in early July. And so students will not actually receive their housing assignment any earlier, but they will receive a decision on whether their request has been approved, declined, or sometimes we just need more documentation and we'll ask for that. And so, if a student, say, is approved for a single bedroom, we will know that before we make everybody else's assignments. So those accommodations will be met prior to everyone else getting assigned. Again, the actual room assignments, all students receive notification of them on the same day, but we do actually process and assign students with an approved accommodation on the back end before the general assignments are made.
I see one extra question, just seeing, can parents access the housing portal for students who are less than 18? So we still will prompt the student, even regardless of if they're 18 or not, to enter into the housing portal to fill out all their own information. But as Jeff mentioned earlier, you can print out a copy, sign it, and then truly we'll take it fax, we'll take an email copy, attachment, photo, whatever works for you works for us.
And it is something that we are working on, hopefully for next year. And I know that doesn't benefit all of you, trying to find a way to get parents to be able to go in and sign digitally as well. But for now, it just has to be that, sign it and then send it back to us in some form.
All right. Well, I don't think we have any more questions in the chat or the Q&A. So thank you all so much again for joining us today. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any additional questions. And we look forward to welcoming your baby Falcons, our new Falcons, to our campus very soon. Take care, everyone.
Go follow the Welcome Falcons Instagram.